Oh, right. Seems to be doing something. Let's just wait for it to do it. That's done. Okay, great. Now I want it to make sure it's quiet. That's right. Okay, good. Fantastic. All right. Okay. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
Hello. Oh, hi, Chaya. How are you?
Baruch
Lovely.
Hashem. Thank you. Fine. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good. I'm
Good.
good. I hear it was a bit noisy up in Spot. I hope it was okay.
Baruch Hashem, we're okay here.
Yeah, thank God. Absolutely, thank God. Now then, let's get our tefillah. And it was my mum's Yorkshire this week on Shivros of Tammuz. So I want to dedicate this learning today, Lilu Nishmata. So, Hashem, share. Okay. So, I want Lilu Nishmat, Imi Mawati, Chaya Bat Sarah Leah Umenachem Mendel. ריבון העולמים ואדוני אדונים, אב המון וסליחות, מודים אנחנו לפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, וקידה בשתה הוויה שקרבתנו לתורתך ולעבודתך עבודת הקודש, ונתת לנו חלק בסודות תורתך הקדושה, מה אנו ומחיינו, אשר עשית עמנו חסד גדול כזה, על כן אנחנו מפילים תחנוננו לפניך, שתמחול ותסלח לכל חטאותינו ועוונותינו, ואל יהיו עוונותינו מבדילים בינינו לבינך. וכן יהי רצון מלפניך, אדוני אלוהינו ולאבותינו, שתכונן את לבבינו ליראתך ולבבך, ותקשיב אוזניך לדברינו אלה, ותפתח לבבינו הערל בסודות תורתך, ויהיה לימודנו זה נחת רוח, לפני כיסא כבודך קרח ניחוח, ותאציל עלינו אור מקור נשמתנו בכל בחינתנו, שיתנוצצו ניצוצות עבודך הקדושים, אשר על ידם גלית דבריך אלה בעולם, וזכותם, וזכות אבותם, וזכות תורתם ותמימותם וקדושתם, יעמוד לנו לבל נכשל בדברים אלו, ובזכותם תראיננו במה שאנו לומדים, כמאמר נעים זמירות ישראל, גל עיניי והביט הנפלאות מתורתך, כי אדוני תן חוכמה מפיו דעת ותבונה, ויהיו לראות צאנים מפי, ויגון ליבי לפניך, אדוני צורי וגואלי. Amen. Can you rtzon? So I just want to tell you, a couple of things about my mum, is that my mother had a very, very good eye for things which were just beginning. Like she was well off, and she loved to help projects which she could see, the beginnings of them, where she wasn't somebody to give money to very much to organize charities or anything like that, but she had a very, very good eye for new ideas and new things which were still hadn't reached their potential. She was one of the people who helped found, for example, Adam Teva V'Din, which is one of the big environmental organizations in Israel, which helps people keep environmental law. And the Aravar Institute, but all these things were right mamash at the beginning when nobody even knew that they would even get to anything. That's what she used to give her money towards, things like that. And she first came across the work of Rabbi Ashlag, I think it was through the translation that Mark and I did in The Shadow of the Ladder, and she became fascinated by it. And it was long before Rabbi Gottlieb was known or anything. Long before he had a Beit Midrash, he used to give shiurim from his lounge. And my mum used to go to his shiurim when they were in his house and ask a lot of questions. And she actually helped pay for a lot of the books that we find of the publications of Bala Sulam, which Rabbi Gottlieb helped publish, and most of them are dedicated to the memory of her family who were murdered in the Holocaust. So I think that she, I wanted to sort of just talk about that and just say what a zechut that she gave us, that we're able to learn this material now. And she had a big part in bringing it through. That, I mean, it was, it was a one-man band in those days. But, a few people gathered around Rabbi Gottlieb, bringing out the books without any money, without any backing. And my mum had an eye for things like that. So I kind of like to think about that a lot. Okay, great. So today I want to do two things. All right, she actually passed away on Shivras B'Tammuz. Okay, and we didn't learn about the 3 weeks because I wasn't able to give the shiur last week. So I thought that what I would like to do is spend some time now just looking at what Rabbi Ashlag considers to be the main point of the mourning on the 3 weeks. Okay, and we've got a piece of writing that's a bit long of Shivras B'Tammuz. We can look at the writing if you want, but I'd just rather just talk it through. And then we've got a really lovely piece from Pinchas. Okay, so that's how I'd like to divide the time today. So on Shivras B'Tammuz, you've got 5 different elements which are considered as calamities, all right? The most famous one, of course, is the breaching of the wall of Jerusalem in the Second Temple, which eventually led to the burning of the Beit HaMikdash on Tisha B'Av. So Rabbi Ashlag looks at the issue of what is Jerusalem. Now, it's very clear from the Zohar. The Zohar in, I can't remember, it might be in Mishpatim, it might be in Bahalotcha, but in any case, the translation of it is brought in Master of the Ladder. It's a piece of Zohar which is fascinating, which absolutely says that the stories of the Torah are garments for its light. The Torah is not a history book. Okay, it says that if you really, it said if it was just a history book, then we could make an even more fascinating history out of the history of kings and Goyish kings or other people. The Torah is not a history book. It's not there to tell us historical events. Okay, and yet obviously historical events are recorded in the Torah. We've got the children of Israel coming out of Egypt. We've got the tablets of stone coming on Mount Sinai. We've got the breaking of the tablets of stone, which is also one of the events for which we mourn on the 17th of Tammuz. You've got the story of the golden calf, okay, and what happened subsequently. And so, is this history? What is it? And the answer is, it might have actually happened in practice. It probably did happen in practice, but the relevance for it today is not the historical event. It's the meaning. It's the historical event becomes, in a way, the metaphor for its inner meaning. Rabbi Gottlieb actually goes one further. He actually says, as far as he's concerned, it might never have happened, because he's interested only in its meaning within ourselves. Okay, I personally prefer middle view. I personally prefer to think that these things happened, but they happened in order to bring us, the later generation, to the understandings of what our relationships need to be. So when we look, for example, at the children of Israel coming out of Egypt, we look at the point of the soul, which is captured by our wills to receive for ourselves alone, And the redemption is God letting us free from our egoistic, selfish desires and allowing us to come out into freedom. Okay, bringing us into freedom. And then we build on that during the Omer until we are actually able to and fit to receive the Torah on Mount Sinai. Okay, so the historical event is the outer framework for its inner meaning. And its inner meaning is what we need to connect with. Now, just as you have that in the Torah, you also have that in the historical events that took place in Israel, okay, in times of our forefathers. All right, so we have what happened. Jeremiah tells the story of the destruction of the temple, okay, and we have the events and the cycle of the year. These are all, so if you like, outer garments for the inner meaning. So the inner meaning of the 3 weeks is to actually look and see what is happening with the point of Jerusalem within our hearts. Okay? What is the point of Jerusalem within our heart, within our soul? That's what we need to be looking at. Am I relating to my soul? Am I putting the priority of my soul, of my connection with the Creator, present in my world? Okay? Now, a soul without a body doesn't function, okay? In what we're commanded to do is to bring the inner, to use the outer as its vehicle. In other words, the soul needs to be able to use our mind, our feelings, our body in order to express what it needs to express in this world. Okay? So the soul needs to have attention. We need to give it attention. We need to try to do what we can in affinity form with the Creator. So in order to do this in actual practice, okay, and we have to have instruction on how to do this because we can't feel our soul directly, okay? We've been given the Torah and the mitzvot. The Torah and the mitzvot, what's this? Is it just me or the sound is kind of quiet? I don't know. Anybody else? Can you all hear me okay?
You are a bit quiet.
I am a
Maybe
bit
it's
quiet.
yeah.
Okay, let's see what we can do. 1 second. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. There's a dial I can turn. Oh yeah, you're right. Had got a bit turned down. 1 second. That's a bit too much. Is that okay?
Yes. Thank you.
Okay. All right. Thanks for telling me, Tatiana.
Oh, yeah, much better. Thank you.
No, that's fine. I'm glad you said. Yeah, it would have been awful if we had done the whole thing and nobody could hear anything. Okay, great. So where was I? The point of Jerusalem in our hearts. Right. So what does it mean? It means that the soul needs to be able to use the body to express, to function, to give in accordance with the desire of the soul. All right. 1 second. Thanks. So, it doesn't mean that we disconnect. It means we integrate, all right? And we place the soul, which has the desire to be in affinity form with the Creator, which wants to be together with its root, which wants to be acting in kindness and loving kindness and giving unconditionally to each other and to the Creator, okay? And that's what it wants. And to use all our skills, all our capacities, all our being in order to do that. And so the breach of the wall of the Jerusalem, and the breach and allowing the Roman soldiers, okay, to come in and take charge of Jerusalem and destroy the temple, it now becomes quite a powerful metaphor, doesn't it, for the mourning. That's what we need to be mourning for. We're mourning for the fact that we don't give sufficient attention to our Jerusalem in our heart and give it the priority that it needs. We need to, make sure that it's in our minds, it's in our thoughts, it's in our actions, and takes priority over our anger, over our resentment, over our fear, over our anxiety, over our sorrow, etc., etc. Okay, so it's really like looking at that. It's these 3 weeks gives us an opportunity to really look at what our priorities are and how we're really working with the soul. So Rabbi Gottlieb brings the idea that Yerushalayim is made up of 2 words, Yareh and Shalem, okay? And although the spelling doesn't quite work out, nevertheless, it's a nice hint to remind ourselves of the 2 different states of the soul, okay? We have, most of the time, we're meant to be feeling shalem, whole, happy, contented with whatever's happening, like keeping our basic level of happiness going throughout the day, no matter what's going on. And that's not very easy because somebody might bump us, somebody might shout at us, somebody might, cause I don't know what, we might get frightened by something. Okay, all sorts of things can happen. All right. And so the shalem is to be whole with God in all circumstances, to understand that whatever the circumstances are, they come from him, and everything therefore is good because all his meaning is good. And our basic happiness shows that we are identifying with that. Okay, so we're going through faith, so that no matter what our senses are telling us, we're saying, okay, I accept that everything's happening, and I'm going in faith, and I'm showing my faith in God by my happiness. Okay, and then that should be most of the day, and then for about half an hour of the day, no more, and that should be at a set time also, to actually that half an hour of the day to actually go and really see our yirah. What's our yirah? To recognize the truth, to recognize how far away we really are from where we want to be, to look at the gap between where we really are and where we would like to be, okay, and ask God to help us with it and to pray with it, or pray for it. Okay, so he says that the combination of yirah, of looking to see where we really are and praying about that, and looking, and the shalem, the right hand side of the state, where we're in confidence and happiness and faith, which is most of the day, put them together, and we have Yerushalayim. Okay. So that was more or less what I wanted to talk about the 3 weeks, because that's the focus. All right. During this 3 weeks, that's what we need to be looking at. All right. That's what we need to be mourning about. Where am I really in relationship to my Yerushalayim? And it's important to do the mourning because, which comes to its height on Tisha B'Av, because as the sages said, whoever who mourns for Jerusalem, whoever mourns for Jerusalem will ultimately merit to see its joy. Okay? And you can certainly ask the question, Rabbi Baruch Shalom Ashlag asked the question, well, thousands of people over the centuries, millions of people over the centuries have mourned for Jerusalem, okay? But the mourning, like we say, is for the inner Jerusalem. And one day, Bezrat Hashem B'karov Mamash, we will see our inner work reflected in the outer reality. But it has to be that way round. We do the inner work and then the outer reality will conform. Okay? We can't expect, the Americans or whoever on the outside to come and organize the situation for us. The outer situation will change for the better when we do our work on the inner. That's the way it works. Okay? Great. Now there's two things in the chat. What does it say? Chat. Oh, everybody's okay. That was about the sound. So we're all okay. That's grand. All right, so let's do the lovely piece I found from Pinchas. Okay, now where was it? Share screen. I'm not sure that's sharing properly. I don't know. I'll do that. Oops. Oh no. Cancel. I need to switch it off altogether. Share screen. Share. Ah, there you go. Terrific. All right, that's the piece I wanted. I wanted to look this year on Pinchas about the offerings, okay? Parashat Pinchas, we read Parashat pieces from Parashat Pinchas throughout the year on the festivals. When it's you get the extra bit for Musaf, for Maftir. On the Hagim, okay, this is always the Maftir. The bit about what korbanot to offer up on the Hagim. And usually after a rather exciting Kriyas Torah and usually a very, moving Haftorah, you've got a moving Haftorah coming. I never really found myself very fascinated by the korbanot. But this year, I began to take much more interest in the korbanot. So what is a korban? And again, the korban is the physical act, okay, which has a lot of inner meaning. Like all the mitzvot are there in order for us to do the physical act connected with the inner meaning. All right? So to offer up a korban is to offer up our animal side, okay? So a person would come along to the Beit HaMikdash, okay, and he'd want to kriv korban, he'd want to offer up a sacrifice, okay, for different reasons. I mean, all the different rules of korbanot. There, some korbanot are for sin offerings, and some are for peace offerings, and some are thank you offerings, and some are I don't know, different things. I mean, for the Pesach, korban, whatever. So there's lots of different types of korbanot. But the idea of korban is to offer up our animal side and in that way become closer to God. All right? And then you can offer it up because you've done a sin and because you want to let go of the negative, or because you want to come closer on the positive. Either will work. That's the inner meaning of the korban. So the korbanot is really the outer action with a lot of inner meaning. here, Rabbi Baruch Shalom Ashlag asks a very interesting question regarding the Korban for Rosh Chodesh. Okay. Use'ir izim echad chatat Lashem. And one hairy goat for a sin offering for God. And Rosh Chodesh, Rosh Chodesh is the time when the moon is the tiniest amount. Okay? In Rashi it says, what does Rashi say? Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the Holy Blessed One said, Haviu kapara alai al shimi'at titereach. Bring atonement for me that I lessened the moon. Huh? What's this about? Okay? Se'irizim, what's the meaning of a korban of a goat? Se'irizim, a hairy goat. A goat, if you want to bring a sin offering for God, why not bring something, like a bull or an ox or something, something big? This is a hairy animal. The idea of hair is it's the dead part of ourselves. Yeah, you can cut your hair, it doesn't hurt. So hair symbolizes the negative, the sa'arot. The sa'arot, if you switch the sin with the samach, which happens a lot in Hebrew, you get storms, okay? All the judgments and everything. So a hairy goat was offered up as a sin offering for God. Also, of course, we get that on Yom Kippur. So what's it for? And Rabbi Baruch Shalom asks a question. How can you possibly say that the Holy Blessed One did a sin? They were offering up, a goat, which is the symbol of all these storms and sins and judgments and whatever, as a sin offering for God. Rashi relates it to the lessening of the moon. The lessening of the moon, of course, relates to the Shekhinah. Bet, im ze kivyachol k'mo chet, lama hu asa et ze? If one could imagine it could be something like sin, why would he do it? Gimel, v'lama l'idei korban shel Rosh Chodesh yuchupa achet. And in what way is it by the korban of Rosh Chodesh will this will this sin be rectified? Daled, anu omrim b'kiddush haLevana. We say, the men say, in Kiddush haLevana, when they bless the new moon, Yehi ratzon lemalot pagimat haLevana. May it be a will to refill the defect of the Levana, of the moon. What does it matter to us that the moon should be left, the way it is? Or can the moon feel anything? That she would feel lack if she's left the way she is? Hey, yesh klal. There is a general rule. Whoever sins brings the atonement. Why does Israel need to bring a kapara, need to bring an atonement? So what is Rabbi Baruch Shalom really saying here? He's really saying this piece that we rattle off, each month, and which we learn in Parashat Pinchas. We don't even think about it. But when you go into it, it's very mysterious. What does it really mean? And like we said, you've got an outer action, okay? And let's say we're meant to give this outer action of this hairy goat once a month for a sin offering for God. So let's say the temple was built, okay, and we do it because it says so. Is that enough? And from what we said earlier, it's clearly not enough. Clearly, we need to join the intention to the action. But what intention are we meant to have here? And what does it mean for us now? We said earlier, Judaism is not about history or what they did then. It's about us now. What are we meant to do about this now, even though the temple has not yet been rebuilt? So his questions are really amazing questions because they actually open up a whole question mark for us. Okay? So let's go into it, all right? Into this really fascinating piece. הנה חז"ל אמרו, ישראל מונים ללבנה, ואומות העולם מונים לחמה. The sages say Israel is likened to the moon, whereas the nations of the world are likened to the sun. Okay? Now, we're talking about Israel outside and the nations of the world outside. The answer is no. We're talking about Israel within ourselves, because the Zohar sees every single person as a world within himself or herself. Okay? So we have within ourselves a whole world. The Israel within us is the soul. The nations of the world which surround the soul are the wills to receive for ourselves alone. Okay? So the Israel, the soul within, is likened to the moon, and the nations of the world are likened to the sun. Inyan shemesh u'remes b'china idia. The issue of the sun is the hint of knowledge. Why? Because the wills to receive for ourselves alone want to know. It's one of the biggest wills to receive that there is. We want to know. We want to know facts. We want to know what's happening in the news. We want to know what's happening on the other side of the world, even though it doesn't actually have much relevance for us. We want to know because it gives us a feeling of control over our lives. Okay, it might actually not do anything, but we get that feeling at least. We want to know how to conduct our lives on the basis of knowledge. This is a will to receive for ourselves alone. Okay, it's a big will to receive. Okay. Why is it likened to the sun? It's likened to the sun, Beresh Pesachim, in the beginning of Masechet Pesachim, ala pasuk, Lo'or yakum rotzeach. Okay. Lo'or. I've gone. I know what it means. It means that if in the light, the murderer is revealed. Shamu ipshita lacha milta kanohoa. Okay. There's no such. It becomes plain in the light. Hainu yidia brura nikra b'china shemesh. That is to say that it becomes clear knowledge is called like the sun, okay? Because it's clear as the sun, as daylight. V'mispakalach milta kalela. But if you've got doubt, it's like the night. Sheshlitat levana, the governance of the moon, belayla, at the night, remes shebechinat malchut shesholetet belayla. hints at the aspect of the Malchut, of the Shekhinah, who rules in the night. Why is it that the moon shines, that the Malchut is the governance of the night? Because it's the Malchut is our governance, which we need a lot of faith for, like we looked at earlier, okay? The time when we need to be on the right-hand side is the time when we need tremendous faith. Okay, if things are happening which don't look good, which to our knowledge look bad, which give us anxiety, give us sorrow, give us worry, okay, and yet we need to, keep going with the faith. All right. As explained in the writings of the Ari, okay, when there is a doubt from the side of knowledge, then we have to go to emunah. Emunah from the side of the Malchut. Now, before the moon is reduced, okay, then you could say Malchut Shamayim Begadlut. What is Malchut Shamayim Begadlut? That means that taking on the yoke of the kingdom of heaven, okay, Adam yachol le'argish b'kabalat ol Malchut Shamayim tekef b'chinat tanug nifla v'ein kates. If the Malchut Shamayim was open as the day, okay, then a person could feel when he took it on the yoke of the governance of heaven, he would feel the most incredible, infinite joy and pleasure. Then it would be totally easy for him to walk in the ways of God. But following the fact of the lessening of the moon, the lessening of the Malchut, which was an early event in the spiritual hierarchy, in the spiritual sort of way things came by. We start off at the Ein Sof, and then gradually, step by step by step, the souls descend in consciousness until we reach where we are now. And there was at one stage the Shtei Ma'orot HaGdolim, that the sun and the moon were completely equivalent. Okay, it's hinted at in the verse in Bereshit that God created two great lights. It's a very interesting verse actually. It says God created two great lights. We start off with two great lights at the beginning of the sentence. Okay, and one to rule the day and one to rule the night. And you finish up at the end of the sentence with the big light to rule the day and the little light to rule the night. Okay, so obviously something happened. And what actually happened was that the relationship between the Zerampin and the Malchut got organized at that point. And that's called Miyut Hayarech, that the Malchut can only now receive her light from the Zerampin. So don't let's worry about the technicalities, but following this instance of the moon being lessened, that's the Malchut Shamayim, not being open to our knowledge. Now we see that when the person receives the yoke of the governance of heaven, he feels it as a yoke, without joy. I've got to do this, and I've got to do that, and I've got this mitzvah to do, and that mitzvah to do, and it feels like a yoke, all right, without joy. Now, it's not right to do it like that, but we have to make the effort to feel the joy. This is what he says. He needs to take on the aspect of faith through putting out his energy. Kashola ol kahamola masa, like the ox to the yoke and the ass to the burden. All right. It's not like, naturally feeling this tremendous joy. It's like, I've got work to do to get there. נמצא שעל ידי המיעוט יש מקום שאדם יבוא לידי חטא. So what happens is because we can't see the joy, we can't feel the joy so instinctively, so immediately, if this process had not happened, okay, now the light of God is hidden from us, okay, it's possible for a person to come into the hands of sin. It's much easier for him to sin now. He doesn't want to take on the yoke of the kingdom of heaven anymore. Can even bring a person to blaspheme, to deny the reality of God, God forbid. So why did God do this? Why didn't he just leave it just like openly open, okay? All right, you want to serve God, you get the most fantastic joy on the spot. Yeah? Why not? והקודש ברוך הוא עשה את זה כדי שלא יהיה בחינת נהר בכסופה. And God did it this way so that we wouldn't have what's called the bread of shame, that we wouldn't be embarrassed by receiving. What does this really mean? When I first heard this idea, I said, I prefer to be embarrassed. Okay? Give me the joy straight out and don't worry about it. I'll handle the embarrassment. That was the way I thought about it at the beginning. But the student who was teaching me said, no, you wouldn't want it. And the reality is that the tzaddikim who reach their own Gemara Tikkun, or when all of us will reach the Gemara Tikkun, at that point we'll have a choice. We will have a choice because the light of God will be revealed openly to us, okay? And we will be able to receive it for the sake of giving, because all that aspect will be fixed. And the tzaddikim will still want to let that go and go back to working from the aspect of work. All right? Because ultimately, we don't want to be embarrassed. Ultimately, the way of work is actually better for us. כי דווקא במקום שאין התענוג מגולה, אז יש מקום לעבוד שלא על מנת לקבל פרס. Because it's only in the place where the joy is not openly revealed, is there a place to work, not for the sake of receiving anything, just for aspect of giving. נמצא שהפגמיעות הוא תיקון, שאדם יוכל לבוא לעבוד לשמה. So we find that the lessening of the light, okay, is a tikkun, so that a person will be able to come and work for God's sake without our own will to receive mixed in. היינו שלא ליהנות את עצמו, אלא לשם שמיים. Not to give ourselves the pleasure, but for the sake of heaven. ולפי זה יוצא שמיעוט הוא הגורם והסיבה שאדם יכול לבוא לשלמות הנצחי. Now we see that it's absolutely the fact that the lessening of the light causes us to work in faith, causes us to give unconditionally, causes us to practice our faith as many times as we can, to fall down and to get up again, and to fall down again and to get up again, okay? And ultimately, until we're able to come to our complete fulfillment. Whereas if the light was revealed from the beginning, we wouldn't do anything. We'd be like out on the beach the whole time, kind of thing. Okay. אבל יחד עם זה התיקון נמצא גורם אחר. But this tikkun is a double-edged sword, okay? It also causes the fact sh'adam yuchal lachto. A person can make mistakes, can sin, can fall down, can even make arrogant acts, transgress on purpose, the whole gamut, okay? Mishum she'al yedei mi'ut ha'malchut adam mitrachek mi'avodat haborei yitbarach. It's because he cannot see what he gets from it. He cannot see the light of God. It becomes so abstract for him that because of this lessening of the Malchut, a person gets far away from the service of the Creator. That's the reason why we sin. It's the number one reason, because it's hard for us to connect. We have to use a lot of willpower, a lot of faith, a lot of prayer, a lot of faith, a lot of prayer, a lot of faith. Keep moving from the right-hand side, from the shalem to the yareh, from the shalem to the yareh, back again, okay? These two states of the soul that we talked about, we have to put in the time, the effort to do the mitzvot, okay? And it's hard, and we trip up. אם כן, זה כביכול כמו לפני עיוור, לא תיתן מכשול. It's a little bit like putting a stumbling block before a blind man. שמכוח המיעוט, אדם יכול לבוא לידי כישלון. Because the light is hidden from us, because of this lessening of the moon, okay, then of the Shekhinah, of the light of the Shekhinah, a person can come and to where he stumbles. נמצא זה כאילו חטא וצריך כפרה. Okay? We find it is as if, in inverted commas, the Creator, in inverted commas, sinned and needs atonement. Or this process was somehow, whatever, needs atonement. כפרה זאת דווקא על ידי ישראל יכולה לבוא. And this kapara for sure can be brought by Israel. Why? אלא עניין הקורבן הוא לקרב את עצמו לקדוש ברוך הוא. The issue of the korban is to bring oneself closer to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay? That's what it means. That's what the word korban means. שעניין קירוב, okay, the korban is the sacrifice. עניין קירוב, what does coming close mean? השתוות הצורה, coming into affinity of form. היינו, בזמן שאדם מקבל עליו עול מלכות שמיים, שלא על מנת לקבל פרס, אלא להשפיע אל השם. That is, when a person receives upon himself the yoke of the governance of heaven, not in order to receive a prize, but only to give to God or to his fellow human beings in order to come close to God in affinity of form, זה נקרא בחינת התקרבות. This is it, what is called התקרבות, coming closer. וזה עניין קורבן לשם, and that is offering up a קורבן לשם, a sacrifice to God. נמצא בזה שאדם מקבל עליו את העבודה על מנת להשפיע. We see that when a person takes upon himself the service of bringing himself closer by giving unconditionally, הוא מתקן את החטא של מיעוט הירח. He's dealing with the defect of the lessening of the light of the Malchut. כי מיעוט המלכות הוא הגורם שאדם יכול לבוא לידי עבודה על מנת להשפיע. Because the truth is, it's the lessening of the light of the Malchut, so we can't see the light, is actually the cause which enables a person to come to serve God unconditionally. נמצא שעגלי מילתא למפרע, שזה לא היה חטא בכלל. So what do we now see? We see that it's now discovered a priori there was never a sin. God didn't do anything bad to us, okay, by diminishing the light of the Malchut. אלא להפך. On the contrary, זה היה גורם שאדם יוכל לבוא לשלמות. This is the cause that enables a person to come to his own perfection. Because like I say, if we weren't having to work for it and build our spiritual muscles, we'd be out there on the beach the whole time. We'd have our feet up. If it weren't for this lessening of it, the light of the Malchut, there's no possibility for a person to come and work for the sake of giving unconditionally, because he's all the time be looking for the reward. So now we can see that the defect of what we saw, the defect of the moon actually was not a mistake. But the opposite. A tikkun mevi lidei hashlamot. It's a tikkun which brings to bringing wholeness. נמצא שדווקא ישראל יכולים להביא כפרה. Therefore, it is Israel who are able to bring this sin offering as atonement. היינו עם הקורבן עובר החטא. For the korban, for the sin. וזה העניין שאנו מתפללים. יהי רצון למלות פגימת הלבנה. And this is the reason why we pray, may it be your will to fulfill the defect of the moon, meaning the lessening of the light of the Shekhinah. Okay? Hanu shemalchut ta'ir b'shleimuta, that the Malchut will one day come to give its light in full. And this it will be by the tikkun of our deeds, our thoughts, our actions, okay, in the service only for the sake of giving. And if one and one and one and one and one and one and one do all this, we will come to the end of the tikkun. When we finish the tikkun completely, okay, then the Malchut will be shining in its fullest capacity. It then says in Zechariah that it will come a day which will be known as neither night nor day, Likrat Erev, and the moon will be shining as the sun. Okay, this is the idea of the Gemara Tikkun. At the Gemara Tikkun, then the Shekhinah will be shining as brightly as HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Okay. All right. Let's see. I think there's one tiny more little bit. One tiny little bit, which is very, very simple and nice. Okay. It also comes in Parashat Pinchas. And it tells us at the time of the first Beit HaMikdash, when they would offer up the korbanot in the Beit HaMikdash, they would get instant feedback. Instant feedback where they were spiritually. They would put the korban on the altar, and the light and the smoke would go up in a column, okay? And if in the smoke they would see a lion, the shape of a lion eating its prey, then that was the sign that their action was pure and in the spirit of giving unconditionally. And if they brought a korban and in the smoke coming up from the sacrifice, they would see a dog, then that would be that they were not working unconditionally. They were working like a dog, have, give me more, give me more. This is the actual words. If Israel merited, then the lion would come down on the fire to eat the korban. The lion is from the aspect of chesed. You know, in the Yechezkel's chariot, okay, he saw these creatures, okay, and the Aryeh, it means the right-hand line is chesed, the ox is the left-hand line, which is the will to receive, and Nesher, the eagle, is the middle line, okay? So chesed, the Aryeh, is the symbol for chesed, all right? Vim lo zachu, but if they didn't merit, there would come a dog in the fire. Yesh lefaresh, we need to explain. Im zachu, if they merit, what does that mean? She'oskim b'hashpa'ah, doing the mitzvot for the sake of giving unconditionally, for the sake of coming into affinity of form with the Creator. Hayay Ored, Kamo Aryeh, they would actually see this Aryeh, Shumidat Chesed, which is the aspect of Chesed. The Kelev, Ainu She'oskim b'Kabbalah, when they're actually functioning for the sake of receiving, Azai Kamo Kelev, then it would actually be like a dog, Shu Have, which is give me this world, give me the next world, have, give. Have is give in Aramaic. So we don't have that sort of feedback, instant feedback like that. But you get from the, Rabbi Ashlag talks about the problem of not getting feedback. Where am I really? And he says from this respect, the mitzvot between man and one's fellow man are actually more useful in that respect, because how we relate to each other and what feedback we get from each other shows us more clearly where we really are. Whereas since work with God, it's more abstract. There is feedback. I'm certainly not saying that there isn't. There is feedback, but it's more subtle. Okay. So he felt that the emphasis on loving one's companions, working to help each other, giving to each other as much as possible was actually very, very beneficial in actually getting the feedback that we no longer get once the temple was destroyed. Okay, amen. All right, okay. There we go.
Question.
Yes.
Okay, they all saw. Who did see the lion? Who saw? They all saw the same thing when the smoke would go up.
Well, that's really a very interesting question. I mean, it's described.
I mean, when we look at the picture, for example, me and you, for example, we go to the museum, we look at the picture is pretty abstract. I see one thing, you see the other thing.
Yes. That's a very interesting point. Let me answer it like this. All the books of Kabbalah, okay, the Zohar, Rabbi Ashlag, the great Hasidim, the Tzaddikim, when you really, really, really go into them, you become very clear, it's very clear that they are actually descriptions, all right? Rather than, they're not philosophical theoretical, ideas like, for example, mathematics, systems. You could make the mistake, especially in the work of the Ari, you could make the mistake because he really describes, very clearly in a sort of a systemized way, how the worlds and the consciousnesses unfold from the Ein Sof, step by step by step by step by step. And it's in great detail in the works. And you could think it's some sort of like a theoretical system. But that actually, the more you look at it, the more you see it's a description, very much like what you said. You can look at a picture, and if it's a classic picture or if it's an impressionist picture, you could, of the same scene, you would see things slightly differently. You would see things differently. And this, in fact, is the case. You could say that Rabbi Ashlag and another great Kabbalist who lived at the same time, Rav Kook, saw the same consciousness. But the way Rabbi Ashlag explains it is more like a classical picture, and the way Rav Kook brings it is more poetical, more musical, if you like, more lyrical. Okay, it's descriptions. I like what you said very much indeed, Tatiana, because it's absolutely true. So when they say they saw the lion, did they actually see a physical lion in the smoke on the time of the Beit HaMikdash? Or is it the lion of Chesed that they see within themselves when they bring the sacrifice, when you make a sacrifice? It might be like, for example, if we give something like, let's say somebody's really annoyed you, okay, really annoyed you, and you very much want to say something because it's burning you up, all right? And you offer up your anger to God, and you say, God, I'm going to take it that you wanted that guy to get angry with me, and I'm going to accept what you give me in love, and I'm going to offer you my anger, all right? What does the person find within himself? He finds chesed. Now, if we were a Kabbalist, we might describe it as a lion.
One more thing, I believe that their level was much more higher than ours. I believe they could have all seen the lion because they were on much higher level than we are.
Yes, for sure. I mean, the generations have got worse and worse. Rabbi Gottlieb says we're the dregs of the barrel.
Well,
we're like that. It's true, because the Mashiach can only come when all the souls have incarnated and when all the work is done. And the way that the souls incarnate is from the purest to the lowest. Okay. And Mashiach is definitely on his way. We can hear its footsteps. All right. So that's why life is so hard for us in many respects, because we are dealing with the hardest parts of reality. So we have the biggest fights within ourselves. Okay. So yeah, we're the generation who have to deal with these issues.
We are very successful in falling down. Extremely
we're very successful in falling down. Yes, it's true. It's true. But I mean, okay, it's not easy times. It's very difficult. Oh my goodness, it's so difficult. I thought the revolution of the internet was bad enough. And now I'm becoming faced with the revolution of artificial intelligence. And it's just like, I don't know where this is going to go. This is just unbelievable. It's really, 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 we're facing things that very, very, very hard areas to keep our giving going. But we need to. That will bring the rebuilding of the inner temple. If we rebuild our
Amen.
inner temple, the outer temple will come. It'll just come.
Amen. Thank you so much.
Tatiana, it was a
Thank you.
beautiful question. Really,
Thank
thank
you.
you so much. Lovely question. Anybody else got any
Thank you, and
questions?
Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so
Shabbat
much.
Shalom. Bless you, love.
It's just interesting that artificial intelligence is really, we want knowledge, we want to know, we want to be able to be in control, etc., etc. And artificial intelligence, we're giving over to somebody else's thought processing. We're letting
I
somebody
know.
else control us voluntarily.
I know.
So
But it's
a bit scary.
absolutely. But I mean, in the field of work,
Yeah.
it solves so many problems. In some ways, solves a lot of time wasting, but on other ways, it's going to increase our wills to receive ourselves alone even bigger.
Why should I do it if the AI can do it?
That's just amazing. I know, it's really amazing. So, there's more and more challenges coming our way.
Yeah.
But the purpose is to bring them all into the service of the soul. If we put the soul there as our, as the driving force rather than our will to receive, then it can be a great boon. Everything can be a boon.
Yeah.
It's just a tool. Yeah.
But my favorite song at some point was Gloria Gaynor singing, "We will survive." And we will survive. That's it. We will survive.
We will.
Shabbat Shalom. Shabbat Shalom. Thank you so
Shabbat
much.
Shalom.
Thank you.
Thank you. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Have a nice quiet Shabbat.
Amen. Amen. You also.
Thank you, love.
Yeah. You did what?
Okay, very good.
Hi.
All right, so let's stop the